G'day and welcome to another demonstration of the Steel Detailer. My name's Michael Crawford. I'm your presenter for tonight. And tonight we're going to cover some advanced modelling techniques with around connections, and we're going to just simply use some smart processors. Now, just want to make sure that you understand that if you've got any questions, please understand that we've put everyone on mute because there are a few people online tonight. With that in mind, if you've got any questions, please send them to support at the Steel Detailer. We want to get started, I suppose, as quick as possible. So if you've downloaded and installed the Steel Detailer, what we want to do is go to the tutorials that come with it, and it's $9.99, and we want to select the WBS of AA and log in. Now, I've just created a basic sketch here with some dimensions set out, just so that we can play around. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to insert a frame. So if I go into the TSD members, go frames, and I'm just going to pick the frame that comes with the trial, and pick a sketch point and insert the frame that comes with it. Alright, so now we've got ourselves a basic frame. So the next step for me is I just want to insert a set of stairs. So we select the stair we want, and you'll notice there's a 1 and a 2 there. Obviously for stairs we've got to select the horizontal, then the diagonal. That'll put a set of stairs in for us. It attaches to the horizontal component and then the diagonal component in that order. So now we've got a set of stairs. What we want to do is we want to just adjust these connections at the end. And to adjust the connections at the end, we're just going to have to simply remove them and then insert new connections. So to do that, we just go to the TSD connections and select delete connection. So we pick the two of them, and then that removes both connections out of there. Now we need to also update the mating components that are associated to that. You'll notice that there's a bit of a trim happening here. We can just simply remove and delete those, and tick the also delete absorbed features. Okay, now what that does is just tidies that up, and we also need to do the same thing on the other side. Just select those two, also delete absorb features. Okay, so now we've got two new sections that don't have any connections on the end of them. You'll also notice that the grating has become detached because the grating was attached to the connection points. Alright, so what we want to do now is just insert two new connections, and the connections we're going to use, instead of using the fin plates that were there, we're going to use end plates, and we want to make sure that the actual end plates themselves are set up for different configurations. We're only going to do one or two configurations so that we can change them if we change the size of the PFCs either side. So to insert new connections, if we go to the connections library and we want to select end plate because that's what we're looking for, and if we look at the library, you can see that, just going through them, there isn't anything that's sort of suited for this particular connection that we're going to drop in. So it means that we need to create a new connection. Just on a second, I'm just getting a bit of feedback there. Bear with me. I just need to mute all. There we go. That solves that problem. Okay, so no feedback now. Hence the reason why I like to mute our sessions. We get noise in the background. Alright, now, so what we need to do is we need to grab a connection that we've already sort of established and modify that connection so that we can create a new one. Alright, so the smart process is to start with a connection that's already there, and with that in mind, if we click on the connection that sort of represents what we're looking for. So in this instance, we want to have a beam that runs across here so that these two PFC members can bolt into, and we also want an end plate sort of connection. So if we select the point at which we're going to snap the connection to and the member that we're going to insert it in, the welded member, you'll notice our connection's now gone in. So what we've got to do is pretty much just open up the stair and readjust the connection in its orientation. Okay, so I'm just turning that around so I can have a look at it. And if you find that you've can't select it, it's a little bug that we've got in SolidWorks that we want to fix. So what we fixed it. So the old versions from previous situations is we just simply suppressed the connection and then unsuppressed it. Okay, now I'm just going to position this. So if we use the front plane and the right plane and go parallel, that'll set that connection up at that point. And what we also want to do is just completely define it. So we just select top, make that parallel. So that's locked the connection in place, so we can now fiddle with the connection. Now the connection itself isn't suited for this scenario, so what we're going to do is we're just going to use it and peel it back. So to do that, there is a number of configurations inside the connection. I've just simply right mouse clicked it and opened it. And you'll notice that the actual connection we put in has had configurations sort of nominated to suit a particular UB section, which is an I-beam if you're not familiar with that. Okay, so I'm just going to remove the design table for this demonstration, and with that in mind I could continue on with it, but I'm just going to create two configs in here that I can work with. I want to create a 200 PFC, and I'm just going to delete the others so that way I'm nice and tidy and I'm cleaned out. And what I also want to do is I want to remove all the bolts except one, so I'm just highlighting all the bolts I want to delete. And I want to remove the plate because the plate's no good to me. Okay, so I've taken the plate away, and now I've just got a free floating bolt that I can reuse, and I've now got a member here that I need to change. Now there are other planes here that I'm just going to clean out. I'm just peeling it right back. There are some bolts here that have been suppressed due to configuration changes. Alright, so now I'm just simply left with this connection. Now I've got a trimming profile here, and also have an underside one. I'm simply just going to remove the underside one because our PFCs are going to be smaller than our beams in most cases. This is sort of a typical sort of scenario. And then I'm going to just change the section to a different one, and I want to make it the same as what we have in our sections. Okay, and in this instance I'm going to have to mirror the section and set it at its right location. Now if I mirror it, I need to go vertical and make sure that I've got that right in my selections, and pick the top point, and now I've got my section in the right orientation. Now you'll notice the cut is still broken here. We're going to work on that one, so I'm just saving it. Now I'm going back into the connection because that's our dummy member, and we want the cope to remain, and what we want to do is insert a new plate. So we've only got one config. We're going to come back and set up more configs in a sec. I'm just going to go into the TSD connections and then insert a plate. Now when we go to insert plates, there are various different types of plates that you can select from. The one that I'm very familiar with, and if you get time, just grab the plate library and just insert plates willy-nilly until you get familiar with what kinds of plates are in there. Alternatively, you can write on top of the images here if you like. They're kept in the library. I'll show you that one in another episode, but at the moment I know that particular plate's got some configs in it, and I'm going to use those configs. Okay, and I'm just going to insert the plate. So if I just hit my tick, the plate's inserted. Not only is the plate inserted, it's created a new instance of a new plate. Not only that, if I open it up, right mouse click and open the drawing, you'll notice there's a drawing that's associated to it as well. And I've just saved that. Now this plate has got lots of configs. I need to go in and just remove some of those configs, so I'm going to open the plate up, and I only need 3 holes in this instance, so those two are okay for me to use. I'm only going to create 2 configs for a 200 and a 250 PFC, sorry. And the reason that I'm doing that is because I don't think any size below that would be used in a stair connection, but you just never know. Obviously it could be a generic connection so that it doesn't only apply to stairs, we could use it for other PFCs in other areas. So at the moment what I'm just going to simply do is just find the obvious one, and I'm just going to remove the design table from this one, and I'm going to change the configs, and I'm going to remove all the ones that don't apply in this instance. Okay, and this is for a 200 PFC. We're going to change the holes, so we got 200 PFC, and I'm just going to copy the parent config, and that's for an 18 holes, and this is for a 22 holes. Okay, so now we've got those two in place. Now because this is a 200 PFC, I'm simply just going to suppress that hole. Okay, and also too, because I'm going to manipulate this, I'll show you why I'm doing this. I'm just going to remove that dimension because I'm going to snap that onto my PFC because I want this plate to grow with the change of the weldment. So from this point on, we want to set up another config, and we will. So add configuration, and we want to make it a 250 PFC. And I put it in the description as well and in the config name. Set the config name up. Now we also need to create some derived configurations, and we want to make sure we're right with those as well. So -18 and put those in there and make it a configuration name so it's independent of its own. The spaces obviously have to go, my fault. So we'll just get rid of those. You could, however, use a design table. It's not a big problem. I'm just avoiding them because it's not a detailed process. And we're going to do the same thing with the next one below as well. So we're going to add another derived, paste that in there, make that 22. Okay, so we're just setting up the config names there. Okay, now I think the holes by default are 18s. Yep, so we could potentially just change the dimensions of the holes. At the moment, they're all 22s. So for me to change that, I need to change the hole centers. Now, the hole centers themselves, you could potentially just put holes in. And we could change them so that we've got custom sizing going on here. So what we want, you can click the configurations, and this configuration we're going to want, we're going to want 22 holes, and it's not allowing me to select them, but in this instance I'll just select that one, and 22s for this one, and I'm going to go back over to the sorry, that was 18s, my fault. So I'm just going to specify those and edit the feature. Make sure we've got that as 22s. Okay, that's those two. Click OK. And now we go back over to the 18. And we just need to make sure that we're actually changing holes too, which is another crucial process. So we're going to make them 18s for M16 bolts, and we want those too. So hopefully when we change our configs, the bolt holes change in size. Doesn't look like it's going to change. Let's just stick with custom sizing. It might be better for us in this instance. Hit my tick. That's a 22. And edit that. And make that an 18. It's interesting that I want to select those two and click OK for those configs. And now when I go back to my 22, is it going to change? No, it hasn't. It's interesting. Anyway, enough mucking around with that. You could potentially just drill some holes in there rather than using the hole wizard. If anybody's got any sort of techniques on trying to get this to work, I'd be open for a discussion about it. Hence the reason why it's a bit funny. So 22s, we'll just make all of them 22s and be done with it. If you need to change the hole sizes, you can see where I'm just simply going in there and changing them. So if that's the case, we'll just remove the 18 so that they're not used in this case. So now it's just all diameter 22s, and we'll just make sure that this isn't custom. It's interesting. Look at that. Alright. Okay, so now we've got ourselves a plate. Can we shift between the 250 and the 200 PFC? That's a 250. We're going to make sure we got the right holes. I suppose we could probably link that to the parent. So we'll just unsuppress that anyway. We go to the 200 PFC and we only have 2 holes. The parent there has another hole. So I'm just suppressing that. We have many other holes here that we're just not going to use, but they're there for the plate and the way the plate operates. So I'm just going to save the plate. Now what I want to do is position this plate so that it's hard up against this face. And I also want to set it down, and it's already got a set down in the plate to allow us. Now I made that mated to that, and that's incorrect. I'll just change that again. I don't want that face, so I'm going to remove that face. I want to mate it to this face, because if this section happens to need a requirement to drop, then I've got the whole thing mated to this and it'll move with it. Alright, now I'm just going to add that mate, which allows me to position it, and depending on your design and what your requirements are, I've made that flush, which means that you've got to do a bit of prep. It's a butt weld. A bit more prep involved in butt welds rather than fillet welds. You could extend that plate 10mm out off the back and allow a full fillet weld to go right round. Either way is fine. Now I'm going to attach this plate so that the plate itself is driven by the depth of the section. So I'm just going to rebuild that, and I'm just going to edit the sketch that's associated to it. Now it's telling me it needs a rebuild before I edit it. Now I've done a rebuild. I just want to make sure I've got the right config in play. In this case I do. Now I should be able to edit that. It's not allowing me to edit it. Okay. Now I should be able to edit that in edit the part. Okay, let's try and edit the sketch now. Okay, there we go. So what I want to do is I just simply want to make this so that the bottom of this PFC allows us to run a fillet across the bottom. So I'm just going to give it a 6mm. And now if the PFC depth changes, that plate will change as well. So if I was to change the section size, it would automatically stretch. Now in our 200 PFC, we're just going to add another config and make it 250 PFC. So we add that to the configurations. Now 250 PFC means that I can change that plate so it's got an extra hole in it. So I'm just going to go over so that we use that config. And now if I was to change that section to a 250 PFC and simply just drop it, you'll see the third hole come in. Okay. Now my centers are a little close here. I need to work those out to make sure that everything's working okay. That last bolt hole is a bit close. We could change the centers. Stock standard centers that we use in Australia are 70/70s. You could get away with 60/60s if you want. That'll move the holes up and give you a bit more clearance. So that fixes that up. Now I'm just going to change this back to the config that I need it to be. So if I change that back to 200, that goes to 1. Now I'm just going to change this section back to the 200, which matches the stairs to which I'm working on. And we want to locate the profile back to where it belongs. Now this cut needs work, so let's work on the cut. I don't like deleting things unless I necessarily have to. This cut itself goes all the way down to this beam. Okay, we'll just make that. The collinear relationship for this edge is obviously related to the plate, so we'll just make that collinear. And the top of this is related to where the plate is, so we'll just make that collinear. And we'll just make sure that everything else is fixed, so I'm just fixing that point on. So the whole coat is now justified. There is no error in it, and it's fully defined. Alright, so we'll just grab our plate, move that up into there. Now what we need to do is just set up our fasteners. Alright, so this fastener is out off to the side. I'm just going to bring this in and mate it in place so that it's fully defined. Okay, so now the fastener is fully defined. Now I'm going to have to change this back to the 250 because I've got an extra bolt there that I want to deal with, so I may as well deal with that now. You could potentially just not go and change the section and just flip around, so what I'm going to do is that, because I've got that hole down there, I can use it. If I right mouse click the bolt and go copy with mates, I want a parallel and I want the concentric to be universal and the coincident to be typical. So I'm just allowing the concentric process to be selectable. So if I select the cylinder, I put another bolt in, select the cylinder and put another bolt in. So there's all my bolts for this connection. Okay, because we're in a 250, all 3 bolts. Now we're going to change it back over to 200, and we want to suppress this bolt. So if we change between configs, we want the bolt to turn on and off. Now, all the bolts that we've just added in, we need to make sure that they're excluded from the bill of materials. Now, you might ask, that's a bit strange, but what TSD does is it, in a process down the track, which is what we call locking members, it collects the bolt that is made virtual and excluded from the bill of materials. These are virtual, and it counts them off to the side. So rather than putting them in a bill of materials, we look after them differently with a database. I'm just moving those fasteners up into there, and we'll just make sure that they're all excluded from the bill of materials, and they are. We go back over to the 200 and just make sure everything is still okay. You'll notice that with the config, when I selected the excluded from bill of materials, I should have selected all configs. Okay. Now we've got ourselves a connection that pretty much works the way we want it to. So what we want to do now is add that to the library. And to do that, if we go to TSD connections, upload connection, and we go to end plate, which is that one, click the tick. That'll add the connection to the library so that we can reuse it over and over again. Now, if you've got more than one seat of TSD and you work in a team environment, it means that because I've now added this to the database, everyone can get access to it to reuse it. Okay, so we've now added that connection to the library, and the connection is now part of our stair so that we can reuse it. We also need to create the cut inside this member to match the profile that we created inside the dummy part in the connection. So I'm just going to isolate that. So now if I turn that around to the view that I like, which is I like working on the back face, I can simply just edit the part, and on the front plane, top plane, that's the one that's on the back face, I'm just going to simply put a sketch on there, and I'm just going to convert the entities for a trim. Okay, and now I'm going to trim that off, and that's the cut for that section. Now that section's been done, I'm just going to update the template. So the template drawing itself is going to need some work here. I've got a couple of dangling dimensions. Oops, I don't want to select the view. I just want to remove all the dimensions, and obviously any center points that don't belong. And now I'm just going to dimension this up so that it can be used over and over again simply by changing some of the parameters down the track. Alright, so I'm just dimensioning this up. The holes have a standard note, the radiuses that are part of our coping have a standard note. And I also like to add, and I don't know why it's on this one, an end view, if you can get it. That was pretty straightforward. I got that wrong. Do it again. So that you can see that that's the end of the PFC. So now that's that one done. Now, we also have a connection that we need to add to the other side. What we can do is just simply add the connection, or insert the connection that we uploaded to the library. So this is in the welded member level, so I'm just going to close that, and I need to be in the area level to put my connection in. So now I'm just going to go up into my TSD connections and go to my end connection, and if you go right to the very end, the last connection that went in was the new one we just put in. And that's that one there. So if you select that, select the endpoint, select the member to which it's going to be, the weldment member it's going to be inserted into. We now have our new connection in place. We open up the stair, okay, and with the stair we need to position this so that it can be locked in place. So if we were to use the front plane on the connection and the right plane, we can make those two parallel, okay, and we also need to do the same thing with the other one. So top plane and top plane, just to fully define this connection in place. Okay, so now the two connections have been added. What you'll notice is this connection does not line up properly, so it's a simple process, and this is how it's done. So I'm just going to open up the connection that's associated to it. I'm going to edit that feature, right, and I'm going to undo the mirror profile and tick it, So that puts the feature on the other side. Now this plate is not the same as the other plate, so we can simply just do a swap. What that means is the actual position for its mating processes can be removed. So I'm just going to delete that mate, select that face and that face, put a new mate in place, and I'm going to modify the plate so that the centers are on the opposite side of the plate. I'll just go into the center sketch, grab the 35 and make the other side 35. So now my holes are on the other side. Okay, that sets it up at 55 gauge from the end and 35 for a 90 plate. So there's the new connection that's just been added. Okay, and you'll also notice, and this is what SolidWorks happens to do sometimes, is the set down that we did here for the 6mm needs a flip. Okay, so we've just flipped that, and that puts it back up so that we've still got our 6mm in there. Alright, so that's that one. Now remember, this is a dummy member, so you don't need to punch holes through it because it disappears anyway when we hide components. We'll show you that one in a later process, but for now I just wanted to show you how you create two connections. Alright, so now we're just going to upload that connection, and if we go to the end plates again, because we want to add this to the library, now you want to keep this connection somewhere to the left so that it's nice and clear, so that when it takes a snapshot it grabs it. Now the bitmap snapshot that gets created is a 200 by 200 square, and our screen is a rectangle, so we need to push it over to the left hand side so that it'll pick it up and make a nice picture of it. Now you can rotate this around to suit yourself, so I'm doing that, and I've got it fairly big. Now I've hit my tick, that's the snapshot that gets created, and the connection is now being uploaded to the library under the end filter. Alright, so now I can close that connection off, and you'll notice the connection now matches. Now we need to do the same thing with this member by cutting the profile around, so I'm just going to use the isolate feature, and I'm going to go around to the other side. If I edit this part, select the top plane to which it's associated to and put a sketch on that. So I'm just selecting sketch up here, select the edges, convert the entities, go back over to the features tab, make sure my arrow is pointing the right way, and it is. There's my cut. Open up the drawing that's associated to this, and she's gone off the page because it stretches a certain direction, and we'll just remove these dimensions and tidy this up and prepare it for final fabrication. Now I'm just going to put a dimension on this end and dimension this end and dimension that end. Alright, so now we've got our member, and I'm just going to position it so it looks tidy. Okay, so that's cut, ready to go. Alright, now the only thing that's sort of not done at the moment is our grating, so we need to update our grating. So if we just edit the sketch on our grating, it's telling me that things are going to fail, so I'm just going to remove that 10mm there that's not attached to anything and reattach it so that it's 10mm off the end. Now the grating in this is just a guide, it's not used. All we want to do is get the lip on the nosing, because these are set at certain distances, and we want to make sure that if we were adding grating into our project, we could just simply snap onto this and use it for our guide for our grating. That's the only main reason that that's there. Our two connections, we just want to add those to the connections folder so that they become part of it. Alright, what we also want to do now is, because we've got these two connections in here, we want to go in and just open up the drawing that's associated to the stair welded member, and you'll notice now there are some dimensions that are missing, so I'm just going to add some new dimensions. And you'll also notice that there are dummy components inside our model. Before we go connecting to those, the best thing for us to do is to use our TSD utilities and hide excluded components from drawings, and that'll go through all the views and hide all the excluded components. So the dummy members and the bolts disappear. So this is another reason why bolts are excluded from bill of materials. so we can actually hide them in our drawing view. Okay, so that's them done. I'm just going to grab that corner there and pull a dimension up there, and I'll just make that driven. I should have picked that when I selected it. We've got a couple of center marks there we can get rid of, and I'm just tidying this drawing up so that I can reuse it over and over again. And we want to make sure that the thickness of that plate comes up so that people can see what that is, fabricators. And I want to, if you haven't got alignment, you want to use it so that you can align your dimensions. Really handy tool. Also too, what we want to do is we want to put some center marks in on the end so that we can run a dimension down from the top of the PFC to one hole. Now the likeliness of the other hole being 70mm from the bottom is very rare. It's more than likely that won't happen. What we also need to do is grab the notation so that we can mark our plates for marking. Now I'm just going to pull this out here because I know that when we change the landing on this, this is all going to pull in. If I pull it out here, we're covered. Alright. Also too, here we might want to do that and reverse these and pull them back, because it's more than likely that's what's going to happen. It'll stretch and the whole landing will disappear. Alright, so now we've done that, and I'm going to do the same thing with this note here, and I'm just going to add that, and we need to put some centers on our holes so that the fabricators know that the centers that are required for those plates. Now you could potentially blow these up, create bigger details. It's up to you on how you want to detail your stairs. Our library comes stock standard. Our customers, they get a copy of these to add to their library so that they can manipulate them. So there's a bit of a bonus in being a customer and having the webinars. So I'm just pulling those up and making them so that they are aligned. Okay, we've got a couple of others over here in the 3D view that we should attach some mark numbers to so that we've got them. Now these are mark numbers that are defaults with TSD. You can create your own mark numbers. At the moment the templates are set up for file naming as the default. Alright, and I'll just pull that down a bit just to tidy that up. Alright, so there's our cells of drawing there. Now this will stretch and change, so we've made allowance for that. Our template is now ready, so I'm just going to close that. Now for us to upload this new set of stairs to our library, if we, whoops, what's going on? We've got the old SolidWorks waiting for the program to respond, which could potentially mean that we might be here for a while and we might need to close SolidWorks and restart. Now this happens from time to time. I don't know what all the answers are for it. This is not a TSD thing. Oh, there we go. Memory, more than likely. Alright, so now I want to add this to the library. To do that, I've got two members here that I cannot select for some reason. Just done a rebuild and I cannot select them for the life of me. I'll just close that and save it and see what happens, and open it back up again. Okay, now we can edit them. These two have external references outside of the weldment member because they're the two that we use to snap in place. We have to remove them so that they're not associated to anything, and we want to add this to the library now. So if we go to the TSD members and go upload library, under structure, under stairs, TSD. Now if I pull it off to the left so I get a good snapshot of it, click my tick, that'll add it to the library. Now it's telling me there was a couple of bolts in there that weren't excluded from the bill of materials, which is a bit odd because I remember doing those. If you get this message, click Save As File and it'll tell you exactly what's going on. This is an audit that happens before we can upload. So it means that those bolts have now been excluded from the bill of materials. What we want to do is just save it. Okay, and now we should be able to upload. It's just telling us stairs. It's just telling us that those bolts needed to be excluded. Now I could have just done them, but it's best that people get notified so that they know it's happened. Now that's been uploaded to the library, so it means now we can reuse these stairs over and over again from the library. So what I'm going to do is just going to show you a basic process of reusing the same stairs, or even just removing the stairs, and show you what stairs can do. So if I go into my members and I go delete member, I just want to remove this member. Now when I select delete member, it moves it out of the model and removes it from the filing system so that it's no longer there. Okay, so that's moved. Now the frame member has nothing to do with the database, and I'm just going to simply remove that by hitting delete. It's a bit different in the way we do that. And what I want to do is just close off the model and restart the counter so that when I put frames in and stairs in, everything restarts. So what we want to do now is just under the members, we want to go into the frames. Now you could use the same frame, but I'm just going to demonstrate what you can do, and I created these from this frame. Okay, so if we go into the stair tower, I've got a stair tower filter here where I can put stair towers in. You'll notice that I've created two sketches in the model, and inside these I could potentially just mark up the stair tower, but I know that through creating these myself personally, and for others to work with it, I'll have to change the picture so that I can demonstrate the process. But for me, I know what lines I need to snap onto first, so I'm just going to pick the frame I want, right, and pick the two lines, and then that'll stretch my stair tower to fit. Okay, now you'll notice my stair tower has a splicing point. That's what I've created for it. And I've also got intermediate floors. So if I select that next one, I can select that member, and that'll start my second floor. And I can keep going until my heart's content, really, and just keep adding in different floors. Now these are sketches for me to snap my my stairs onto. Okay, they're all configurable and changeable, so I can go in and just simply select, let's say, the floor height. So level 1 in that one can be changed to a different height. Now I'm just going to grab the top one. I'm just going to show you how this works so that you can see how stairs automatically update. So I'm just going into the top one, and I'm going to change the level 1, and I've labelled these right, haven't I? Level 1, where are you? Level 1, there we go. Oh, didn't double click it, do it again. There we go, level 1, and I'll just change that to say 2700. And you'll notice the change, so the whole floor changed then. So we've got a different height on that one. So now if I want to put some stairs in, I can simply test the stairs that we put in and what we've just created simply by going into TSD members. Stairs, because we uploaded it to the library, it's the last one on the list. We select that one, and I'm going to pick that horizontal line and that diagonal line. If you look at what I've selected, I've actually got a driving sketch in there that sets up the set of stairs to go in our stair tower. And if I click the tick, that'll insert our new stairs. So it means now we can reuse our stairs. And as I said before, if you're in a data concentric environment where you've got more than one TSD operator, they have full access to that. Now what we want to do is we want to adjust this landing so the landing comes back to our platform, and we want to stop it on that line there, which is where we're going to place a beam. So if we select our stairs, and in there we have a driving sketch part which we can drill down into, and we have a tread sketch. You'll notice there's a dimension here, but I'm simply just going to remove that dimension, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to snap the driving sketch onto a point that I have here for a line, and I'm going to grab it and mate it, relate it. So then that'll make that coincident, and it means that everything now should automatically update. Okay, you'll notice that we've got that little tread there, landing lip, and it allows us to set up our grating around it. And you can see how that's simply all set up so that it stretches as well. You'll notice these little hidden components, they disappear when we lock them. I'll just show you what actually happens so that you can see that occur. If I go into the stair, this is what a locking process will do, but I'm just going to do it simplistically by hiding the excluded components, and the only thing that gets shown are the items that we've created, if you can see. Now what I'm going to also do is I'm just going to drop a beam in here. So if I go to my TSD members and go beams, I'm going to pick a beam from the library that I've got. something that represents a UB section. There's a good one. So we can pick that line and insert a beam on that line. And of course, with every member that we put in, there are drawings for every single one of them. And simply because that's set up that way, and we need to make sure that the beams that are associated to this need to match. So I'm just going to open up my stair and I'm going to show my connections because I need to see them to make sure that my offsets are okay and my beam sections are the same. And coincidentally enough, the beam sections that I've already chosen match. So that's handy. Now for us to just simply connect this, we could select the beam and isolate those two plates and use our TSD utilities and go punch holes. We select that face and that face, we've got our holes, select that face and that face, and now we have our holes. And they are in context, which means that if we were to change the width of the stair or the position of the stair, those holes would automatically match. Now I've just done a rebuild. Now that pretty much sets up the stairs. We've checked the stairs, we know that they work okay. We'll just make sure that the stairs are okay. So now that we've inserted them, we need to make sure that the drawing that's associated to it is looking okay. Yep, everything looks fine. We can just move a couple of dimensions around, tidy it up a bit. Just make sure none of these mark numbers are overlapping. There. Alright, so now that drawing there is, I'll just tidy that up as well, is ready for, I'll just make that so that they're aligned, is ready for locking. So that's prepared. Also too, our new members in here that have been updated as well, we need to make sure that those sections are updated in their drawing templates because they've been shortened somewhat considerably compared to what we had there before. And we need to update those drawings accordingly. Alright, so that's updated now. Now I'm just going to show you what functionality you can get out of TSD as well. That pretty much covers the connections, but I've got a set of stairs here that I can populate fairly quickly using the stair, the Weldment members library. And if I go around, I can see which stairs I want to go up. So I want that one, and I've selected that stair. And I'm just putting in a continuous stair, which means it's got a lower landing and an upper landing. And it does take a little while, but it'll put it in. There's a fair bit that goes on with these stairs. The stairs themselves have got equations in them. So I've got that set of stairs, and now I'm just going to go to the next one and put that one in as well. As you can see, putting stairs in are fairly quick. Alright, so that's putting in the next set of stairs. Now the landings themselves are all adjustable as well. Good thing about the stairs is they have driving sketches in them. So we can go to the next set of stairs, go to the driving sketch part and look for the tread and grading sketch and grab the bottom leg dimension and the top leg dimension. And we can simply just go in and grab the, and you need to rotate around so that you can see this, the connection point to which this is going to attach to, which is that one. You can just see that line through there. And now I'm just going to select that endpoint, make that coincident. Just going to zoom out, come back down to the bottom one. Okay, and I need to rotate that around so I can see where that point ends and finishes. That's it there. You'll just see the beam line through there. Hit that tick and make that coincident. And that's all you need to do, is to attach the landings for your stairs one by one. And you'll notice those members are quite well matched in as well. Alright, so there's the stairs that can be added quite quickly to your project. I've placed a beam in there, and you can go crazy putting beams in, really go right around your whole project. In simplistic terms, it's easy to keep adding floors to a set of stairs and a stair tower. Now, what's happened in this process and the time frame in the 50 minutes, so that you're aware of it, in summary, the connections for the stairs that have gone in are in our library now. So if we go to TSD connections and we go end plate, go over to the end, you'll see our 2 connections, one for each side. We also have inside there a new set of stairs. So if you go to TSD members and stairs, we also have a new set of stairs that have end plate connections. Now I can modify this picture so that it shows me that there are end plate connections, and I can also modify these so that they show me that there are fin plate connections. To do that, it's quite simple really. If I go into where the library is kept, and you should know where your archives are kept, and I go into the member library, and under the member library we have a pictures folder. So these are all the pictures of the members that we have in our library. And if we go to the stairs picture, and if we go down, there it is there. And if we simply just edit that in Paint, we can pretty much just sketch anything we like. We can even copy snapshots from the TSD model over the top if you use Paint or Snippet. And you can add text to it. So if you wanted to, you could go end plate and just grab it, drag it, end plate, top landing. And that way you've completely isolated that so that you can see what's going on. And now I close that off. Just close that off. And now when I go into my members and I go stairs, I now have a note that will allow me to distinguish that library component. You can put codes in and set up a library book if you want. It's up to you on how you handle your library. I'm just showing you that you can manipulate the pictures. Alright, so we tested it also by putting the member inside a project just to make sure everything was going to function with the connections at the end. Sometimes you may put connections in and they may not be connected. And we want to test that to make sure that functionality works. So whenever you create new members or new connections, you need to test them just to make sure that they're going to go in okay or they're going to work fine. Alright, so in summary, that's it. So that pretty much concludes this webinar. I want to thank you for your time, for being involved, and for allowing me to waffle on for a good 50 odd minutes. And yeah, if you've got any questions, please send them to support@thesteeldetailer. If there's anything that you want to see or experience on a webinar, please just send us a request through support@thesteeldetailer, and we'll certainly demonstrate it in front of you. If you have any sort of specifics, yeah, just ask. Okay, yeah, I just want to thank you for your time, and yeah, look forward to seeing you next Wednesday. I believe the topic next Wednesday is going to be about concrete panels. So if you're in the concrete panel industry, or you've done concrete panels in the building and construction industry, please just let us know. Okay, so I'll see you next week. Enjoy the rest of your week, guys. See you later.